it's 11 days to the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. Hello and welcome to Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. Now coming up, NDC Minority Caucus writes to Speaker of Parliament vehemently opposing an attempt by the majority to recall Parliament to consider a raft of what they describe as urgent government business. We have details as the NDC says they will only welcome a recall of the House after the December 2024 election. Also, Electoral Commission sets close of the week to dispatch biometric verification devices to 8 more regions ahead of special voting in 6 days. Details as the National Election Security Task Force assure they are 95% ready for the polls. We have details of these and more. Plus, are you a first-time voter? Then you can't miss the mock voting exercise to be hosted by your election headquarters as part of your our very final episode of your favorite show, Just Turned 18, with Shola Adeyemi, live from the University of Ghana campus, Legon. Please stay for details. So, now, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has been urged to reject a request by the majority in Parliament to recall the House to consider what they consider urgent government business. It will be recalled. The Majority Leader Alexander Feomarkin sent a request to the Speaker last week, Friday, requesting that the House be reconvened to sit on Thursday and Friday this week to deal with a number of outstanding government business. The Speaker has not responded to this request yet. But if the House is recalled, that will be the 4th emergency recall of Parliament in 2024 alone. The NDC say they are vehemently opposed to the request, citing a myriad of reasons. This letter from the NDC caucus to the Speaker follows a warning from the NDC party to its MPs to stay away from the House should there be a recall. Listen to National Chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, who was speaking in the Western region about a week ago.
Now, Musa Koya, recall Bia, a man NDC MP by Kokra, NC or Parliament.
If the MPP initiates another parliamentary recall, no NDC MP will honor it. No business before Parliament can be described as emergency.
I do not be the Parliament. Emergency. Emergency beyond you. Yes, Parliament, now I'm going to continue dream dear. One more dear, and
clearly, the MPP wants to pursue a corrupt agenda, and they appear not to be satisfied with the corruption they have pursued in the last 8 years. They want to use the last few weeks left to undertake corrupt activities.
Now,
and so the judges can say whatever they want, but we will use parliamentary laws to do business. If Parliament is undermined, democracy will cease to exist.
Democracy. Parliament democracy behind.
Let's bring in Dr. Rashid Rahman, who is Executive Director for the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Doc, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Now, this conflict has still not been resolved. What do you make of the positions taken by the two caucuses?
I think those positions are to be expected. I mean, given that all along, right from day one, the approach that has been taken to resolve this conflict has not been one that anyone would have hoped would produce any outcome apart from what we are seeing. Because, Parliament is a house where compromises are done. Parliament is a house where even when one party has a majority, at certain moments, there's a need for some dialogue and some consensus across the aisle. We've seen a lot of forays into the space of Parliament engendered by Parliament itself, by the courts, over the last couple of years. And at the height of this crisis, some of us have indicated that, look, this is a political crisis, but I mean, the legal tools are being used to resolve it, and that doesn't work. And so, fast forward a few weeks down the road, I mean, we are seeing, the NDC side invoking, a number of provisions in our constitution to say this recall cannot stand. Ordinarily, in ordinary times, it would have been possible, despite the fact that maybe some provisions might not have been, followed strictly, it might have been possible to still get the other side, to come along and get Parliament to come back and do its business. But, the situation where, the courts are now the ones deciding how Parliament should work, I think is what is leading us and leaving us in this situation. And of course, the timing also. Even in normal times, when MPs are in the House, they are divided in terms of their attention.
Okay.
And now you are a few days to elections. I mean, you get them to Accra. I wonder whether they are really going to focus on any parliamentary business. So in the end, even if they get to convene, I think it's the Ghanaian people who would suffer, because we are going to have most of these things pass without the necessary scrutiny that everybody would be expecting that Parliament should apply.
Okay.
Because a raft of things that they need to do within a very short period of time. I mean, that's a very tall order, even if Parliament, convenes.
Okay. I'm grateful to you for your thought here on our show, Dr. Rashid Rahman there. From that, the Electoral Commission has set the end of week to dispatch biometric verification devices, known popularly as BVDs, to 8 more regions ahead of the elections. Distribution of electoral materials, especially ballot papers to Northern, Bono and Bono East regions, have experienced some delay since the EC began distribution of the materials 2 weeks ago. Briefing the National Election Security Task Force at the Electoral Commission headquarters on the EC's preparedness so far, EC Chairperson Jean Mensah has been providing timelines on when all outstanding matters will be resolved before special voting on December 2. James Aveji has more.
The National Election Security Task Force, led by the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, as part of its engagement with key stakeholders of the election, have been meeting the Electoral Commission to deliberate over preparation so far ahead of the election. First, the EC chairperson has been giving some updates on distribution of ballot papers so far and the biometric verification machines to the various regions ahead of the elections.
And all the ballots, with the exception of the Northern region, the Bono region and the Bono East, have been disseminated to our police armories across the country. I'm well aware that the ballot papers for the Northern region, the Bono and Bono East regions will be disseminated to the police armories this afternoon. It's instructive to note that our biometric verification devices are also being prepared, and we are confident that by this weekend all the biometric verification devices will be safely lodged in the police armories across the country. As we speak, we have over 8 regions. The biometric verification devices have been sent to over 8 regional armories, and they are in safe keeping there.
The EC chair has also been providing updates on the number of persons recruited so far to man the election on December 7.
The Commission has recruited close to 210,000 temporary officials across various categories, from returning officers to deputy returning officers, presiding officers, polling assistants in all the 40,900 plus polling stations across the country.
The IGP said, barring further engagement with the other stakeholders of the election, the police are 95% ready to safeguard the election on December 7.
We've done a lot of work when it came to the printing of the ballots and the transportation of the ballots across the country. And like you rightly indicated, we are 95% done. And with the BVDs, we are also almost 50% done. And looking at the timetable that we are working with, we are sure that within the shortest possible time, over the next couple of days, we'll be done with all this, and all these facilities and logistics will be in place at where it matters.
The National Election Task Force is expected to do other further engagement ahead of the December 7 poll. From the EC headquarters here in Accra, my name is James Saveji, reporting for Joy News.
Paul Mensah Brompa is Programs Manager and Team Lead, Local Urban Governance and Security at CDD, and he has joined us on the phone lines for some reactions. Grateful to you for joining. Now, you have the EC on what is left to do. You've had them on what is left to do before the special voting in 6 days. The police also say they are 95% ready. What is your own assessment of our readiness as an external observer of the process so far?
Thank you very much, my brother. And let me say, probably, this proactiveness from the main managers of the electoral process and the elections is what we are seeing in the field of a reduced incident along the electoral process as compared to the 2020 election. So I must say we must still give support to the AC and the Election Security Task Force and commend them for a good work done so far. I always say that in our electoral process, the two most important phases that we usually record incidents are the registration process and the last day of the elections or the polls when we are doing counting and declaration of results. So far, we've gone through safely for the registration. We are conducting our political campaign activities safely. So we hope that this piece that we've recorded so far will be so for the last day counting and declaration. Then we can wholeheartedly say that 2024 has been peaceful as compared to all other elections we've had under the Fourth Republic.
Okay. But today we are hearing that the EC has decided to reduce the number of media houses that will go to collation centers in both the constituencies and the regional levels. We're asking your view on this, of deciding to allow a certain number of media houses into those collation centers. Is that fair?
Well, so the question is, what necessitated this decision? And you are aware, the report that the CODEO issued after the 2020 elections, some of the kills that were recorded, misunderstanding was because the collation centers were choked. Don't forget, the EC delimited the polling centers into several polling centers in order to reduce the population per polling center. However, they did not increase the collation centers. So we have so many ballot boxes from so many polling centers coming to the same collation center. That's here you had a reduced number. Coupled with the observers, then you had the collation centers choked. People were causing mayhem. People were struggling to even see what was happening. And some of these things resulted in the chaos and the shooting incidents that were recorded. So as a part of the electoral process, just like democracy, it's a process. So when we take a step forward and you do a post-mortem to see what was the problem, then you try to find antidote. So this decision may be one of the reasons that we witnessed in the 2020 election.
I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining us here. Now, did you just turn 18 or are you a first-time voter? Then you can't miss the mock voting exercise to be hosted by your election headquarters to boost your electoral confidence ahead of December 7 polls. That will form part of our very final episode of your favorite show, Just Turned 18, with Shola Adeyemi, live from the University of Ghana campus. Joining us via Zoom now with more is the producer of Wednesday's program, Emmanuel Jivenu. Emma, grateful to you. Walk us through what to expect during the mock voting exercise.
Grace, for the past 6 months, we've been running the Just Turned 18 series, a show dedicated to preparing first-time voters for the big day on December 7th. And tomorrow, we are wrapping it all up with something exciting. A live voting simulation at the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana. We are going to have about 100 first-time voters go through the voting process, right from the verification of their names in the register. They cast their ballot, that is sorted, and the ballot is then, the results are then declared present to guide these first-time voters through the process, address any questions, and help these first-time voters avoid any costly mistake on December 7th. So why not join us tomorrow at the university?
Okay. And who will be present on the ground tomorrow? Okay. This is still the Joy News Prime, but make it a point to be at the University of Ghana campus tomorrow, Wednesday, to be part of this exciting program there. But don't forget, it's tomorrow 10 a.m. at the University of Ghana. It will be live on major bulletins throughout the day. This is your election headquarters, and I will be there personally to be part of this particular program. But I have Emmanuel Jivenu back. Emma, I wanted to ask you about who and who will be present on the ground. Emma, if you can hear me, I wanted to run us through who and who will be present on the ground tomorrow. Okay. This is Joy News Prime. We'll take a break here. I'll be back with more. Please do stay. Welcome back from the break. Now, the Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, has expressed its readiness to undergo audits by both local and international bodies to validate its actions regarding the alleged distribution of unwholesome rice to senior high schools. The authority maintains that all approvals granted adhere strictly to best practices and regulatory standards. The FDA emphasized its commitment to transparency and public health safety amidst ongoing scrutiny of the issue. The authority has been under pressure for failing to do due diligence before extending the best before date for over 22,000 bags of rice imported by Lamens Africa Limited. North Tongue MP Samuel Okudzuta Blakwa, who first raised the alarm, claims documents reveal the rice was initially recommended for destruction.
But I have an internal FDA memo dated 29 December where the FDA's original roadmap was that 1, let's move in to stop the rebagging. 2, let us dispose of the rice, destroy the rice. And then 3, fine this company 150,000. It is shocking that when the Lamens directors were arrested on the 20th of December, a lot of miracles happened. Calls from above released them. Then you remember the letter I read from J.J. Boy, the superintendent in charge of crime from Ashanti, where he had sent samples to FDA. Will you believe that before these FDA test results will arrive on the 6th of February, an order came from above that the rice should be sent to our school. So all 22,000 bags were removed from the NAFCO storage facility and distributed to our kids.
Bags of rice that were under investigation by the FDA.
And I have here the FDA report which came on the 6th. And if they had waited for this FDA report, they wouldn't have shared the rice, because the FDA report confirms that, quote, presence of insect does not conform to the compliance statement. And this is signed by Marian Vivian Hammond, Marian A. Okome, Joseph Ufosusia. Yeah, insects.
They found insects
in the rice.
Which was then distributed to children.
Which had been distributed.
Okay.
By the 2nd of February, 1st and 2nd February, they had distributed this. Then the rice also had high fat acidity. So the rice was unwholesome and should not. I have given this to doctors. Medical doctors have told me that, look, this should not have been fed to our students.
Well, the Chief Executive Officer of FDA, Dr. Delise Mimi Dako, at a news conference Wednesday, justified the authorities' decisions and action.
On December 20th, 2023, the FDA Kumasi office received reports of repackaging of rice in a NAFCO warehouse. The FDA Kumasi officers, accompanied by officers from the police service Kumasi, inspected the facility, which was previously locked by the police, and confirmed the repackaging activity and resealed the premises. Following the submission of the preliminary investigation report by the Kumasi office to the head office, it was realized that the products in question had best before end date of 2023 and not an expiry date as contained in the initial submission that came from Laments with the analytical report from CSIR. Based on the above, the FDA reviewed its response to the importer's letter dated December 4th, 2023, and communicated the following to the reporter. 1, that the shelf life extension must be aligned with the manufacturer's guidelines. 2, that the CSIR FRI report lacked certain critical tests for moisture and mold.
Now, Dr. Dako also says the FDA is open to any probe, both internally and externally.
Shelf life and consumer safety. The FDA follows international best practices for food safety, including use-by dates, which indicate safety, and foods must not be consumed past a use-by date. Expiry date, which indicates both safety and quality. Expired products are unsafe and should be disposed of. Best before end date. This relates to quality and not safety. Foods may lose their flavor or texture, but remain safe if stored correctly. The authority, like other authorities globally, may use accepted regulatory extensions of best before dates following rigorous testing and compliance with storage requirements, and this is in line with international best practices. The FDA also wishes to assure the public that it confirmed the wholesomeness of the consignment of rice in question and gives assurance that with all the other certificates that were submitted from India, from PPRSD, from CSIR FRI, and concluded that the rice was wholesome before it was released for distribution.
This is still Joe News Prime. We'll take a break here. We'll be back with more. Please do stay. Welcome back from the break. Now, Nana Kwame Bediako, leader of the New Force and an independent presidential candidate, is calling on Ghanaians to resist the temptation of selling their votes as the December election draws near. With just 11 days to go, he emphasized the importance of protecting the country's future by voting conscientiously and safeguarding the integrity of the electoral process. Speaking to supporters at Ablekuma Kev in Accra during his campaign tour, Bediako urged voters to use their thumbs wisely for lasting change. There is more in this report.
With Election Day fast approaching, Nana Kwame Bediako is intensifying his efforts to secure voter confidence in the Greater Accra region. Building on the momentum from his campaign in the Western region, he has hit the ground running with a series of engagements aimed at connecting with the people and sharing his vision for Ghana's future. The tour began at the Anya market, where the man affectionately called Cheddar interacted with traders, listened to their concerns, and shared his ambitious plans to usher Ghana into a new era of industrialization.
BBN Ghana Fuan Casabet say, ye timi manufacture, na yetimi toma bonten so for. The person me catch them say, may buy send ye bet me a crown and here ye more. Adia ye bet me as a son no, Adia ye dija no, yana nanomia papa mudija no.
President Nana Akufo-Addo has denied allegations of lying his way into power. According to him, issues of unstable power supply and slow economic growth, which were main campaign messages, remain factual. The president further reiterated that the country's economy is making a turnaround. Nanaya Ojima was with the president touring part of the Ashanti region and has come through this report.
The president's speech at the inauguration of the newly constructed bridge at Atafua in the Bantama constituency was characterized by political jabs.
One of the most consequential decisions that Ghanaians are going to make in this generation is a decision that is going to be made on the 7th of December. And we're being told that senior citizens of this country should keep out of that matter. We will not keep out of it. We will not keep out of it.
The president emphasized his campaign to unseat the former president, John Mahama, was based on facts, contrary to opinions expressed by the opposition.
He's saying that in 2016, I came to power, I came to office by telling lies to the Ghanaian people. What are the lies I told? Dumsor was my making. I lied about Dumsor. Did I lie about the 3.4% sluggish rate of growth in Ghana at the time? Were all these lies created by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo? All these were lies. They were hard facts. But he's trying to find a way to excuse himself for his abysmal failure in 2016. He should find another thing, another story to tell.
And that's how we wrap up today's bulletin. There's more on myjoyonline.com. Up next is Prime Business. Good evening.